sick of it. But by then it was a little too late. They had actually not gone to work quite amount of time over that period. So they both ended up losing their jobs and cars due to this game.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
Yeah, I started playing back in 2008. My mom's boyfriend at the time, we lived in a one-bedroom apartment, and I slept in the living room as a freshman in high school. So I would occasionally see him playing, and this was Wrath of the Lich King, and he was playing Paladin. His name was Magnamar, and he eventually got my mom into it. They refused to let me play, and so as time went on, my mom kind of got sick of it, but by then it was a little too late. They had actually not gone to work quite amount of time over that period. So they both ended up losing their jobs and cars due to this game, just because they were playing so heavily. They made a change in getting rid of this game out of their lives. And so that's when I got introduced to it, because the computer was open. I made a shaman. That was my very first character. It didn't last very long, maybe like 4 levels. And then I made a paladin. That's what I leveled up first, and that's what I played back in Wrath of the Lich King. Was Holy Paladin. My mom's boyfriend at the time, he still played, occasionally. He did real heavy content because he had so little time. He would never help me out with shit. Like, he wouldn't give me advice on nothing, dude. I kind of made it out to kind of put this nerd in the dirt. Basically, I just had that mentality ever since then. I was probably like the first person that ever pissed me off, was the person that introduced it to my family. I didn't really do much. I did arenas. A guy named No Namer. He was a Death Knight. He also played a warlock, and we did twos together. I played Prot, a dwarf paladin, and he played a human warlock. I wasn't sure what spec at the time, but we would win like all the fucking time, and it was insane. Eventually, I just got bored, of just repeated. All I would do is just arenas, and I switched to Horde. I went to Blood Elf, and that is the first time I truly ever experienced somebody rage on me in this game, and it was quite a reaction. Yeah, he was pretty pissed, but fuck him. And then I took a little bit of a break. I came back towards the half end of Cataclysm. I tried out all the classes and I landed on Shaman. And I was running a random dungeon, and I happened to get grouped with this guild called TBSG on Kirin. Oh yeah, by the way, that's the server I first started on, was Kirin. So I was running a Cataclysm dungeon with them, and they instantly invited me into the guild. And so they had another shaman in there that was one of their main healers, and she was taking a look at my character and everything, and she realized I had no enchants, I had no gems, I had no macros, nothing, like no keybinds, nothing. The shaman's name was Lamage. They called her Camel. She is the one that probably just took my shaman healing to the next level. It was insane. The moment I queued into that dungeon, to like the very next day, I was a totally different healer. It was night and day. And so I repeated that same pattern. Miss Pandaria, came back at the back end of it, did some arenas as Warlock, and then took a couple year break. Missed all Warlords of Draenor. And then this is the past couple years, beginning of Legion, I did construction jobs, and one of the superintendents on the job, I found out he played World of Warcraft too. The moment that, I found out, one of my friends enjoyed the same game as I did, as a kid, I jumped on the opportunity. I legit bought a computer that very moment in the middle of that conversation with my buddy. I bought Legion, came back, and no bullshit, 3 days later, the man quit the game. I was so tilted, bro. I had spent thousands of dollars on a new system, new game, and this man just leaves me high and dry. So I run solo all through Legion, pretty much all through half of BFA, and then the end of BFA is where I really started to take off in the game. That's when I started doing higher content. I got my first AOTC, did my first 15, of course, as a resto shaman. So yeah, shaman's kind of built into me, kind of been with me since the start, literally. So yeah, I'm just full retail. I've always been retail. World of Warcraft has pretty much been the only game I've ever played since I was like 15. I wasn't allowed to play video games very much, but when I got the opportunity, which was at my mom's house, I took full advantage and never looked back. So visually, I like the openness of the area, but you also have the clutteriness too, but like on the ground, kind of like where it should be. It's very simple compared to like Najitar. You ever go to fucking Najitar, dude? There's fucking caves on every fucking level of that map. Just super annoying to find. But here it's like, I don't know, kind of like being like right here on the edge. I had the feeling of just wanting to jump. I like Mob Souls too. It's very traumatizing. The tentacles, specifically this middle one right here behind me. I can feel it. Like my back hairs are standing up. No, it was just this is probably the one thing that I enjoyed repeatedly doing over and over again. Was this dungeon for the hidden artifact for the Fury Warrior. It was just all to match my shoulders that I had the light blue, a hidden artifact. That's the one that I want. I literally sat down in my mom's kitchen in her little apartment at the time. I had my computer right there on her table, and I grinded this shit for hours on end. At the time, I was a traveling salesman, so I didn't have an apartment here or a house here. I was always going state to state. I would be at home for a couple weeks at a time, and that was at that time. And I spent my 2 weeks getting that artifact appearance here. What I enjoy the most, Mythic Plus. Not only because it a challenge, but it's over quicker. You're either you know right away, you're gonna complete this or you're not. And depending on the people you surround yourself with, kind of determine the level you're gonna achieve. Kind of. I like that there is kind of a ceiling for difficulty, but when it comes to Mythic Plus, there really isn't a ceiling. It makes you adjust to the game, and if you don't want to do that, you're not going to be doing the higher content. You play the game like a video game. That's what I like about it. Honestly, man, I only like raiding if it's gonna be, with some buddies. If I was rocking solo right now, I would not be raiding unless it was specifically for a piece. But even then, I might just say screw it. I mean, the only thing that I honestly really take pride in is current ratings. Typically, the ranking on, the IO. Once a season is over, that last KSM, that last AOTC really doesn't mean anything. It's kind of just a ticket to get into other groups. I'm kind of happy that it's very easy. Once you get KSM, how easy it is to just kind of snowball that into the rest of the seasons for the expansion. Like, so when you apply for groups, you're more likely gonna get taken if you show that you had KSM last season. And a new season has started. They see, okay, this guy had KSM last season. You're automatically gonna get taken. And it's just so much easier to gear up, to grind everything. I find it harder on alts that I make that have no IO. It's hard for me to get into groups, and I just can't imagine going back to how that would feel like. It would be rough, man. Well, depending on if you're playing with buddies or pugs, I do both. But yeah, it's there's always different people, different classes. I always enjoy seeing what specs can do what. Also you can see what classes not to play so you don't waste your time. Yeah, I just like how fast paced it is too. You're always, especially as a healer, they say you're always stressed out. If you're running with people that are using their defensives, their cooldowns properly, healing is actually very fun. It's not stressful at all. Well, I'm a shaman. I mean, who am I to talk? It's just super fast paced. I like it, and it's over quickly. Back when I was playing, Wrath, Kata, and Legion, and I would say majority of BFA. It Alliance and Horde were two different environments, and I didn't really enjoy Alliance all that much. It's just what my friends played, and then once I started going solo, I went Horde, and like I said, it was just a totally different environment. The mindset of doing stuff completely different. A lot less whining, kind of more straight to the point. You're either good or you're bad, kind of cutthroat, which is good. You don't want to waste your time. Right now I'm playing Horde mostly. I have a couple Alliance characters. That. If the guild were to go Alliance, or my buddies were to go to Alliance, I'd most likely go to But if they just like quit the game, I'd stay horde. Pretty much that's what my preference is. Mogs and races are just so much better. Orc is probably, well, no, is the best race in the game. Both PvE and PvP. Population, I mean, I don't know. I really haven't looked at the numbers recently. The only reason why my main character is Horde is because my friends play Horde. I couldn't tell you if I was rocking solo if my main character would be Alliance or Horde because it could be either one. It would just be whatever faction, I find people to play with on, that's what I'm going to play. Considering the new Dragonflight changes, I really like them. I thought the game had been in a real kind of a slump the past, couple expansions, going back to WoD. It's so much faster, which I enjoy. It improves players' skills just overall. I said at the beginning of Shadowlands that this expansion was going to weed out a lot of bad players. I mean, from my experience, I've definitely seen that there is far, far less bad players that I play with now, towards the middle of Shadowlands and the end of it. Mechanics are, a lot harder. The first time I ever experienced true hard mechanics was Mage Tower back in Legion. That shit was insane. I did on Ret Paladin and Feral Druid. Feral was easy, but Ret was not so much. Yeah, dude, like the Catalyst, dude. I love that they added that. The new mod sets, for the class that I'm gonna play, was amazing. My abilities, dude, like fucking insane. Like, I've never had these collection of abilities as a Resto Shaman before, and to me, it's super cool. One thing back in the day that I wish they would bring back to the game is that reforging the armor. You can sacrifice one stat to boost another one. I believe that was back in Ra. You could do that. Another thing that I wish that they would do is more of a feature, the login screen. I wish they would update that a little bit more and not make it so much more about the troll race in the background. I want to see the class that's chosen as well. Majority of the background I would like to see be the class of that character, and then whatever race you have that banner hanging in the back or something like that. But I would really really like to see that. I think it would be cool too for classic players because having that old school login screen will just be more nostalgia for people that tune into classic. I still remember going and getting the items for the paladin mount, and shortly after, I think I had gotten like within two of the items. I forget what they were called. I hadn't done it in such a long time, but I think it was like water that I had to look for, and you had to run Strathholm for it. And I got like within two, and that very next Tuesday, I found out that they released the mount to every paladin in the game, and I was so pissed. Like it had taken me so long. I had only wanted this mount for so long, so I worked my ass off for it, and for them to give it to everyone when I was so close to it. Balance of power. Um, that is probably the one quest line I refuse to do again. I just had such a terrible experience doing it. It may have been easy for other people, but the spawns on those dragons just killed me for like 3 to 4 straight weeks, and I will never put myself through that again. Suramar, that is probably the one place I hate the most in the game. Is Suramar. I mean, it's pretty and all, but so is Ardenwald. Once I had to drop in, I had to look for some items, and I turn around, I have no idea where the fuck I'm at. I was like, I hate this place. Like Najatar too. I hate that place. Like I will not go there if I don't have to. Yeah, no thanks. No, thank you.
Goodbye. May our paths cross again. I will never forget your kindness. May the wind be at your back.